There's a recurring pattern in history that has destroyed three of the greatest global superpowers in the last 5 centuries. Right now, in 2025, the United States is following that very same pattern, stage by stage, decision by decision, almost as if we are reading from a script that has led to catastrophe every time before. In the late 16th century, Spain stood as the richest empire the world had ever seen. Its fleets dominated the seas, its armies were feared across Europe, and its currency circulated everywhere. Within a mere 80 years, Spain had gone bankrupt, reduced to a second-rate power that never recovered. In 1914, Britain controlled the largest empire in history. The sun never set on its territories, the pound sterling served as the global reserve currency, and London was the financial hub of the world. Yet within 40 years, the empire had collapsed, its currency weakened, and it became a junior partner to a rising United States. In 1991, the Soviet Union held the other seat of superpower status, possessing nuclear weapons, global influence, and satellites orbiting the globe. But in just 900 days, it ceased to exist, not because of war, but through economic implosion. 3 times in 5 centuries, empires followed the exact same path to collapse. And today, the United States has already passed through 5 of the 7 stages that historically predict total decline. We are not approaching this sequence, we are deep within it. This is the story of how empires die, why they always believe they are exceptional, and why history shows that no nation escapes the consequences of its decisions. Understanding imperial collapse is crucial. It does not begin with invasion or battlefield defeat. It begins with economic exhaustion. When a superpower extends itself beyond what it can sustain, trouble begins to grow quietly. Military bases in over 100 countries, wars on multiple fronts, promises that cannot be kept, debts that cannot be repaid. Initially, none of this seems alarming. The currency still functions, the army still wins battles, and the government continues to make promises. But beneath the surface, foundations are cracking, resources are misallocated, productive capacity diminishes, and the most capable citizens begin to leave. As decline accelerates, allies hedge their bets, enemies probe boundaries, trade partners seek alternatives, and reserve currency status begins to erode. Suddenly, the very advantages that once projected power become vulnerabilities. The currency that once demanded global respect floods back home, military commitments become unsustainable, and promises backed by strength turn hollow. This is what happened to Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union, and it happened because they made the same errors that the United States is repeating today. They believed their power was permanent, overextended their militaries, debased their currencies, and ignored reality until collapse was inevitable. Spain provides the original blueprint. Following Columbus's voyages in 1492, Spain conquered the Aztec and Inca empires, seizing control of the richest gold and silver mines the world had ever seen. By 1550, Spanish galleons carried 200 tons of silver annually from the Americas, rising to over 400 tons by 1600. Spain controlled Europe's money supply. The Spanish real was the global currency. This immense wealth laid the foundation for hubris. King Philip II, ruling from 1556 to 1598, spent lavishly on empire building, fighting wars across Europe, the Mediterranean, the Americas, and Asia. Military overextension became stage 1 of decline. Wars on multiple fronts consumed half of Spain's revenue, yet it was never enough. Stage 2 was currency debasement. The crown began diluting silver coins with copper, maintaining their face value while eroding actual worth. By 1600, Spanish currency had become nearly worthless, leading to rampant inflation and trade disruption. Stage 3 followed, a relentless debt spiral. Spain borrowed from Italian and German bankers and defaulted multiple times, declaring bankruptcy 4 times in 40 years, yet continually returning to borrowing and spending. Stage 4 was the collapse of productive capacity. Unlimited wealth from the Americas discouraged domestic production. Nobility viewed labor as beneath them. Agriculture stagnated, shipbuilding declined, and innovations ceased. Gold flowed outwards to pay for foreign luxuries while Spain produced little of value internally. Stage 5 was social decay. With the economy failing, crime surged, productive citizens left, and Spain's brightest minds migrated to France, England, and the Netherlands. By 1640, Portugal was lost. By 1650, the Netherlands, Spain's wealthiest territory, was gone. By 1700, the empire was a shadow of itself, still large on paper, but economically hollow. What remained was culture and history, but the empire's power was gone forever. 3 centuries later, Britain followed the same trajectory. At its height, it controlled a quarter of the world's land and 400 million people, and the pound sterling dominated global trade. The British Empire believed in the permanence of its power, but the pattern was already underway. Stage 1, military overextension. Britain maintained garrisons across 6 continents, defending colonies in India, Africa, the Middle East, the Pacific, and the Caribbean. World War I pushed the empire to the brink financially, costing over $40 billion, funded largely through American loans. Stage 2, currency debasement. Gold reserves were depleted during the war, and attempts to maintain pre-war values damaged domestic industries and exports. Stage 3, debt spiral. Britain borrowed relentlessly to fund both world wars, culminating in debts to the United States and Canada that exceeded its GDP. Stage 4, loss of empire. India was relinquished in 1947, followed by colonies across Africa, the Caribbean, and Asia over the next 2 decades. Stage 5, currency collapse. The pound plummeted from its pre-war strength, reducing Britain to a regional power with lingering prestige but no true influence. The Soviet Union, the most recent example, mirrored this sequence in condensed form. Emerging as a superpower after World War II, the USSR maintained vast military commitments, spending 15 to 20% of GDP on defense, and engaged in global competition with the United States. Stage 1, military overextension, strained resources. Stage 2, economic stagnation, saw factories producing low-quality goods, farms failing, and innovations stifled. Stage 3, currency collapse, rendered the ruble virtually worthless for international trade. Stage 4, loss of empire, unfolded in 1989 when Eastern European satellites abandoned the USSR. Stage 5, complete collapse, came in December 1991 when the Soviet Union dissolved entirely in just 900 days, not through war but economic implosion. Today, the United States exhibits the same stages. Stage 1, military overextension, 750 bases in 80 countries, troops deployed worldwide, and obligations that cannot all be met simultaneously. Stage 2, currency debasement. Since 1971, the dollar has been a fiat currency, with over $6 trillion printed since 2020, eroding 98% of purchasing power since leaving the gold standard. Stage 3, debt spiral. Total national debt exceeds $36 trillion, over 120% of GDP, with interest payments nearing $1 trillion annually. Stage 4, loss of productive capacity. The United States imports far more than it exports, relies on foreign supply chains for essential goods, and has hollowed out manufacturing. Stage 5, social decay. Institutional trust is at historic lows. Crime and homelessness are rising. Drug overdoses kill hundreds of thousands annually, and the best talent increasingly leaves or disengages from civic life. Stage 6, the loss of reserve currency status is beginning. Allies diversify reserves, trade in alternative currencies rises, and central banks accumulate gold. Stage 7, collapse, has historically followed rapidly once the 6th stage is underway. The United States is not immune to the same forces that destroyed Spain, Britain, and the Soviet Union. Exceptionalism, technology, and the dollar cannot override fundamental economic laws. Spending beyond means, overextension, currency debasement, and declining productive capacity are not theoretical vulnerabilities. They are real, measurable, and accelerating. Each prior superpower followed the sequence, and mathematics suggests the pattern is locked in, leaving only the question of timing. History offers no reassurance. It shows that superpowers do not decline gradually, they implode suddenly when financial and economic structures fail. Spain took decades, Britain 2 generations, and the Soviet Union less than 3 years. In every case, collapse was brutal, swift, and complete.